Well, hello and welcome to the wrap episode number 28. It is Thursday, January 26th. I'm Nathan Guerra. Anna Russel is next to me. I'm coming out of Wisconsin of the USA. As usual, I have no idea what part of New Zealand Anna is in, but she is somewhere in the lands
Come
down
on.
under. I'm horrible with geography. It's just the truth. This is the wrap. It is the show rounding up all things Zwift from the last week: racing, events, tech, fashion, etc. We are live on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, as well as Twitter. And this is a podcast as well as a live show. If you do want to download these and take them with you wherever you go to listen to the audio version, just go ahead and search the wrap as well as Zwift. You should be able to find that anywhere you can download a podcast. This week on the wrap, we are going to be talking about, well, Anna's team won the ZRL race this past week, so we're talking about that, it looks like. We're talking about Tour de Zwift. There's a 50-kilometer run training thing going on. We're talking about Garrett Gaines and what that new club is all about. There's a new Zwift update that just launched. Segment battle points with a gigantic question mark. Apparently, virtual cycling makes you crash. Some people are saying, I don't know what that's all about. So we're going to see if that's actually true or not. I think I crashed. Well, anyways, we'll get into that later. And Anna needs to calm down. We'll see if she can get into a therapy session with Carissa, because I have a feeling the two of them could have a conversation about calming down, because this one's a big one for both her and myself, I think, when it comes to club workouts and why they exist or do not exist. Our guest today is Daniel Jamrozik, known within the esports community as Jammers for his amazing ability to attack nonstop off the front of the race. He is an elite racer for Restart Racing, and it's going to be really awesome actually to have Jammers on board. In pre-production, we were chatting a bit, and this is an interesting one, that is for sure. Of course, we're going to have our jersey pick, our garage pick of the week, and what's coming up over the next week for ourselves and the rest of the Zwift racing community. So, Anna, let's get right on into it. First topic that you put literally right at the top of the show notes. Zwift Racing League. We had we're currently, for those that for some reason, if you listen to this podcast and you don't know that we're into round number 3, race number 3, I'd be really surprised that you didn't know that already if you listen to this podcast. But it was a very interesting race on Innsbruck Ring. We had 4 laps of Innsbruck Ring with the new KOM banner. We talked about that last week a little bit. And I made a mistake actually in the commentary, because Christian Kolczynski was off the front and won the race outright, went first across the line. But I had the mistake in the commentary of making the mistake of thinking that, look, this is a team game, and wow, at the end, it was actually Riot that won. Tell me about how that went, Anna.
Okay, and I know this is often for myself to sit here and talk about, but I have noticed in chat people are interested to know how it's playing out. So I will tell you, we won. Riot fucking won this week. Like, it was great. I probably have got to put that we've got expletives in the pod now, but I don't care. This was great. We had to, honestly, I've never refreshed a page on a website more than I did after that race to see what happened with the results. And the reason why is like what Nathan said, is that we had 2024 has Kristen Kolczynski, who is a star, right? So she TT'd off the front. She messaged afterwards and said that she hated all the sprinting. She just was not liking that sprint. And she was like, I'm chucking on my music and I'm just going to go TT. And you know what? Like, one thing that where we're winning is when she does that, we just go, sweet. That's one rider. We know then, what I like about it is it's like a game of chess. I know now that's a known factor in the race. She will get those points, and that's cool. We know something. And when you know something, you can beat it. When you have an unknown, that's when you can't beat it. When you come around every lap and go, oh my gosh, where are we going to be? So I was like, that's actually great. We know that's happened now. Leave it alone. And so we had Jackie Godbeat Jack attack. I don't know if you saw her leg snappers. Holy, I mean, she can sprint at over 1,000 watts. I mean, watch out Worlds. Like I actually think she's got a huge shot at the world champs because of that power she can lay down over and over again. Then we had Ninja Christina Grossman. She sits there in the pack and just mops up like FTS points all day long. No one really knows where she is. And then you look at the points later and go, oh my God, she got like 90 points. So she was just doing that. And I kind of sat just after them, just kind of every leg snapper. My role was I got like so many PRs on that. It was insane. Like I think it was 40 seconds we took to get up there, like 1 minute best power, all of the stuff. I was like, this is amazing. I was a horrific wreck on the sprint. Oh my gosh. I don't know how people do leg snapper and then sprint. And I got a shout out to OTR because last season, actually, we joined forces with them for one of the races and we were all on the same Discord together and just kind of working together because we're sort of friends with a couple of them. And I dropped after a sprint just because I was like, I'm so gone. And I knew I could probably catch back up. But Jen Moroz, like, I got on her wheel and she just like drafted me up and one of her teammates dropped back and made that snake tail or dragon's tail out the back. So we kind of like shot back through the group. I was like, oh, this is great. Teamwork across teams. So yeah, it was amazing. We won it. Next week is a Neon Flats. The sprinters won, another good one for us. And then we're level. So if we win next week, we're level. TTT in Scotland to go. So it's going to be a tight battle right to the end.
It is going to be tight, that's for sure. And what I like what you're saying there, just to dive into that just a little bit about the controllable that you do have is that there's certain points that are gone. And if you don't put in the thing that came to my mind immediately was you have a certain amount of time to race, right? A certain amount of distance to race that has different objectives within it, right? And you only have so many resources to work with. And if you waste any resources at all that don't gain you any of those objectives, you're lowering your chances at winning. You're taking away from your points. So you know that you don't have to put any resources into something that sometimes some people might be putting resources into. You might have put resources into chasing Kristen down in the past. And now at this point, you're like, look, we're going to save all those resources and you're able to put them completely where you know that you can get the most points out of your race. So you took those resources and obviously, I mean, Jackie Godby, one of the, and you know, to be honest, like that's a huge call out because watching what she's up to in those sprints and has been absolutely mind blowing. And I think you're right. Now, with Worlds, we're going to have to wait for Scotland and see what kind of profiles those are because they're pretty insane. Like I have a feeling that these are going to be some of the, like you think Richmond's hard? Well, good luck. Like that's how I think. That's how I think we're going here. So it's gonna be interesting to see once the Worlds course does open up where things go with some of the test events that end up throwing down prior to Worlds. That's going to be super interesting. I think we're going to get a lot more information as people actually start racing on the course as to what kind of course it actually plays out on. Because I don't know that we've ever. I do know this that they're trying to fill a hole that we don't necessarily have in courses yet. I think that is kind of true where we have long climb, short climb, but we don't really have or like super puncher climb like a London Box Hill, but we don't have that like multiple in the middle of those kind of a thing, like a 2-ish, 1.5 minute, 3 minute, like. You know what I mean? Over and over and over again, where you can just punch. I have a feeling that that's kind of what we're going to have coming at us to really crown a world champion when it comes to this kind of. So we'll see. Anyways, I'm totally divulging into another bunny trail from a bunny trail because we love Zwift Racing way too much. So, all right. Next up, I want to talk about
Next up, is that it? Have we stopped talking about Riot? I'll just say again,
okay, Riot won. I guess we're gonna talk about it again.
Thank you.
And
Yeah.
okay, I want to know about these social posts. Okay, you guys totally did like a champagne celebration. Like, was that aimed? I gotta know. I gotta know what that was going on there.
So we're kind of. So this is like everything 2024 does, because they're like a great team. I've actually been messaging with Nicola Cranmer, who is the team manager, I think, for 2024.
Yeah, she is. She definitely
just
is.
because, yeah, this is a side note, but there was a rider in that race, and I've got her name here.
From
I did just
Afghanistan?
have it. Yes. So she was an Afghanistan rider. She's riding for 2024, and I just was so impressed. Ruksa Habibza. I've probably said that wrong, so I apologize. I would really like to get her on the show because I saw her actually when I was racing, and I was like, that is a flag I haven't seen before. And then I went and had a look after. I was like, whoa, she has got a phenomenal story. So yeah, I would love to have her on the show. But yeah, so 2024, they're very slick with their social media. Like, it's just awesome. They're a pro team, right? And Riot's always got, I mean, we don't have a team jersey. We just use the fluoro jersey in the garage, not even like the best garage jersey, just this kind of hodgepodge team. And so each week when we've come second, we've done these just champagne celebrations actually that we've actually done, like Megan popping the champagne, and it like hit a pro guy rider who was still racing. I'm like shaking a bottle at a triathlon finish line, and I drop the whole bottle and it spins out on the ground. And so then when we won one, Jen got like a can of champagne instead of an actual bottle to be like, yeah, we're just this kind of team. We're just all over the show. So that's kind of, we're just poking a little bit of fun about how we're not slick at all.
That was pretty good. And it was like, I saw that Instagram post, and she was in the shower and like, fully dressed, everybody, but in the shower, and like popped the can, and it didn't do anything, and it was just totally kind of lame. Like, I absolutely love how you guys were doing that, because there is this. I love how you're juxtaposing it. It's a great, like, scrappy, come up team versus the 2024, and the fact that you guys have this too, and the name Riot on top of that. Like, it's really good. Absolutely loving it for sure. All right, well, moving into something that I don't like. Why are we even talking about this? No, I'm just kidding. Somehow, watch, just like the fashion, Nathan's gonna end up running because of Anna. No, this will never happen.
Yes.
No. I tried it.
Oh my gosh. Should do a triathlon.
I used to run. Okay, I did, like, when I was in like high school, like in the off season from hockey, and whatever. But oh my gosh, running, no. All right, the only reason I would run now is because there's extra stuff to get in Zwift now. I could level up and get things in Zwift. Like, that's the only reason why. So I was like the elite Zwifter or whatever. But anyways, why did you put 50-kilometer run training in the show notes? That's what I want to know.
Oh, so when we put in like, what have we been up to this week? I was like, I've been training for my 50-kilometer run. So that was kind of bad. But it also
that's
really
like she's just like skipping over that. I've just kind of like, casually been training for a 50-kilometer run, like, and it's no big deal. Just kind of like, I'm gonna go Everest and whatever. Like, what?
I think like casual would be the right word. I'm kind of heading out and running when I can, but I am actually doing a lot on Zwift running. So I did put that in there because maybe this is a story of doing a 50K trail run, basically of running off my treadmill. And I know there'll be people, because they come into my stream being like, why aren't you running outside? I love running outside, but you can tell it really annoys me. But as I say to them, I can't go leave my kids at home by themselves while I go out for a run. So I run on the treadmill a lot. But this goes in nicely with the update where finally, Oh my gosh, it has taken a long time. We have new run levels and new swag to unlock, and some of them are like tank tops, new visors. I don't mind the visor running, FYI. I love it running, just don't wear it on the bike. New shoe. They've actually got the shoes that I used to race in, so I'm pretty
It's
excited.
okay to wear the visor now?
Yeah,
You heard
in
this
the
here, everybody.
running.
You are allowed to wear the visor now, according to Anna, but only running.
If you're running,
If you're running.
only
If you're running.
Yes,
Okay.
it's like I'm not going to run in a helmet, right? There we
Okay.
go.
Okay.
So you can run in
All
a
right.
visor.
Okay, I got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. That does actually make a lot of sense. That does actually make a lot of sense. Okay, what level do we have up to now? What's the release up to?
30, so 21 to 30,
Gotcha.
which is pretty cool. I mean, running's always got like the problem. I was chatting to someone, actually a guy on a Twitch stream who I just randomly started chatting with. Zwift always has a bit of a problem with running in that it's not as immersive as cycling. Like if you're in a running race, you don't feel the elevation. You don't have like a weight benefit. So if you're a lighter runner and you're running uphill, you don't run. There's not like a power to weight ratio thing. So there's not that immersive feel that you get with cycling. And I can kind of see why they do it, because if you did have that immersive feel, it could kind of be a little bit dangerous on a treadmill. Like if you suddenly it went from like 0% to 10% and you weren't really focusing, you would very easily just kind of fall on your treadmill. And falling on a treadmill is a lot more dangerous than falling. Well, you can't really fall off a trainer, but we'll talk about that though with virtual reality. So the running part, it's always got that bit of a problem. But if they've got new levels, I'm excited. And they've also got the Run Academy starting like next week, which I'll also be doing. And they usually send a whole bunch of people to a big marathon event. So it's pretty cool. I like it. I'm like the voice of running here. I know most of the people watching are cyclists. But anyway, I saw Amy Mundasev came into chat as well. I'm also doing the Fearless duathlon. So I'm doing the duathlon league for WTRL with Team Fearless. So check out my Twitch because that's actually pretty fun. You like do a 35-minute TT effort, and then you've got like 5 minutes to get off and get on your treadmill and then start a 15-minute run effort. It's pretty fun.
So I'm actually seeing some pretty cool, man, there is some cool stuff actually here, like almost like podium. You know, we don't, if we had, see that'd be the cool thing. If we had podium presentation in Zwift and then you need your podium wear, right? Like some of this running stuff, like the shoes at least, some of the shoes would be like great to go along with, especially the Adidas Pro, the level 30. There's some pretty cool stuff. Did Zwift Insider do a full, like those level 30? And then we've got some socks in here I'm seeing as well that are pretty sweet here. Like, there's some animal socks at level 23. There's, like you said, the new tank top. So a lot of cool stuff here actually for those 10 levels. I'm excited to see that. So really cool. Nice shout out there. Zwift Academy run as well. Registration just opened 3 days ago. 3 days ago that registration opened up for Zwift Academy run. And the actual Zwift Academy run will run from, is that going to be February 6th through March 5th for Zwift Academy run? February 6th through March 5th. So go ahead and check that out. I'm assuming that there's an article over on Zwift Insider
Usually
about
is.
that. Yeah, I mean, I don't keep up on the run stuff, obviously.
The running side.
Yeah,
Okay.
but there should be an article.
I will say, the workouts are really good. I've seen chat coming in saying it is good if you can't make it to a track. So if you are a runner, like I like the workouts. Workout mode on the treadmill it's good. It's a good way to get a 50-minute run. So it's nice. I like it. Did we want to talk anything else about any of the updates? I mean, Scotland's released, but we can't ride on there until events are kind of happening and we can go do that. We may be doing a podcast thing. I'm not quite sure. I saw something come through on my email.
We're waiting. I thought it was a for sure thing, but we are waiting. But be on the watch out for a podcast Ride Scotland. So like we may be riding the rap Ride Scotland. We will definitely be doing some things around worlds and riding and Scotland and there's a lot going on in that space about how that promo is going to be happening. And so we definitely, as soon as we've got more details, be on the watch out for that. I'm assuming sometime over the next week, you'll see some social posts, and that at the latest by next week on the wrap, you'll get some official information about what we are up to. So be on the watch out for that. As far as other things with the updates, from Zwift, that's about.
I'd say the other big one for me, it actually wasn't big, but it was interesting, was the hologram
Yeah,
replays.
the new holo replay updates are pretty cool, that they're going to be for the entirety of full route recording and playback, actually. That's going to be pretty cool. It's not just segments now, it's entire routes.
Yeah, and I do want to note that, because I watched Llama's YouTube on it this morning, is it starts at like day 0 now. So even if you've done all the routes, you're not going to see your hologram. I call it hologram, sorry, until you've gone and done the route. So it's a recording from now. Whereas before, the segment ones had like historical data. But I'm using these a lot now. I went to, and a lot of people actually came into my Twitch to watch. I went and did Innsbruck, and I'm going to do the same for Neon Flats next week. I went and did Innsbruck as an interval ride where I did 3 laps, and I sprinted myself every time on the snapper using a different pacing strategy to figure out which one got me to the top first. It was, I mean, we got this from Alex Coe ages ago to go in.
Did it work out for you in the race then too? Or did the avatars being around you change it up at all? Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, it obviously changes it up with the draft, but the pacing strategy, like, I mean, I think I had like 4th fastest time, and then each time was kind of top 5 FAL. And Jackie, I know, used that strategy too, because she was just dominating each time. And so that's a great way to do it. So in the Neon Flats, it won't work as well because it's flat pack sprints. So it really depends on the pack dynamic. But leg snapper, because it's not as draftable, yeah, it was great. So what I found is like you go through, and I did the first one, just a bottom to top effort. Then I went through again and did slightly easier than an all-out sprint. And then I did it again in the reverse. So an all-out sprint and try and hold on to the top. That was definitely the slowest. So that gave me the like good indication for the race to kind of like not go all out, like from the start of the segment. So, but next week, I'm going to jump on and just do it as an interval sesh and race my holograms, maybe do even 3 laps, right? But just kind of maybe sprint alternates 1 lap, sprint alternates the next lap, and just kind of race my little holograms. I love it. It's been a kind of revelation for me.
Yeah, I really like that. Really, really key though for everybody to understand is that the recording for these starts upon this release. So now you have to go and do the route, and then you will get a holo replay of the route from here forward. And there's also something added, kind of telling you, like from the user input, there's an archway that'll show up, or something that like shows up to tell you you're starting, like this is coming. There's just some more feedback from the game letting you know, like, hey, a holo replay is going to start. And it isn't like they just like pop up like out of nowhere, like, wait, why is there suddenly a ghost riding next to me? So there's a little bit more feedback from the game to let you know what's going on with the holo replays. So, okay, next up, real quickly, just want to chat about, because this has to do with what I've been up to for the last week, and this new Garrett Gaines club that has launched. I can say officially that I am going to Moab Rocks, which is a part of a race series with Trans Rockies. The race, Trans Rockies is like a race organizer here for mountain biking, mainly here. And so it's a part of the single track series that Jeff Kabush, Evelyn Dong, and a few others just released. Kind of in response in North America, there's been a lack of a cohesive mountain biking scene when it comes to the professional level for like an NA tour. North America, it used to be like Pro XCT that was put on with USA Cycling in conjunction with UCI. There used to be way back the Norba series. I mean, but since Norba, and then even in the Pro XCT, like I raced Pro XCT here in North America, and like it struggled after Norba stopped. Like Norba was like the heyday of mountain biking here in North America in like so many ways. And we've been able to bring over some UCI World Cup races, and the World Cup scene is doing amazing. We've got a couple of races here in North America, but unless you're on that, like chasing UCI points in order to get frontline call-ups world level, there just isn't a whole lot for you to like have a cohesive aim at. And so Jeff Kabush, Evelyn Dong, and these races, there's 4 races that they're partnering with to create this single track series, which I'm super excited about to actually see. There's a little bit of response to the gravel scene and the Lifetime Grand Prix and what's been going on with them here in North America, and just saying, well, cool, gravel's awesome, that's amazing, but that's not mountain biking, right? And like there's all these like mountain bikers that are winning at that right now here in North America, and so it's kind of like had this split of like, well, are we gonna keep mountain biking, or are we gonna like are we gonna actually? So I'm super excited about that. I just got confirmation I am going to be going to that. So the Garrett Gaines, long story there to say, the whole Garrett Gaines club is like, all right, I'm actually like, it's been a few years since I've trained seriously to race pro. All right, this is happening. So Gabby and I are both going to be doing structured workouts through Garrett Gaines Club in order to share our story forward into the season. Come join us. That's the whole idea. You want to follow along? We'll be doing weekly or bi-weekly workouts to jump in with us. And like, that's specifically to kind of like show off a part of our structured training. So like last week we did speed work to show like what the heck is like, why do people do speed work? And it's a perfect example. One of the Instagram comments that came through actually from a post I did about a speed work session was like, why are you trying to sprint at 180 RPMs? Da, da, da. I was like, oh, this isn't a sprint. That's not the point. This isn't like, you know, and I think it's, and that question in and of itself opens up a whole place where we can talk about like, why do people do high cadence drills and what's the point of that? And you know what I mean? And so there's some education and ideas, because I think before I knew the whys behind the training I was doing, I didn't want to do it as much. I didn't understand what it was doing to my body. And once I got the whys into my head, it motivated me that much more, because I knew exactly what it was, the benefits I was going to be getting out of it. And I can think about that while I'm doing them. And I can also adjust while I'm doing them to not do them wrong. Because like, if you know the whys, then you know what the form about it is about. You know what the power profile of it is about, and you're not going to go outside of that necessarily, because you know that it'll screw up the why that you're after, Anna.
Yeah. And I hope you don't mind the troll coming into your Twitch streams going, shut up and get your gains.
Not one bit. Not one bit. No, and that's, you know, that is one thing, is that like, if you do jump into our Twitch streams in the middle of our major base training, yes, we're kind of just showing ourselves suffering in some ways. But if you do join the Garrett Gaines actual events, like we talk the whole time through them. So there's two very different scenes going on there, because last night we did a 3-hour base session that was just pressing that zone 2 to like edge of zone 3. And that's a pretty hard suffer ride. You know what I mean? And you get kind of quiet. But like, cause it's head down and go, you know what I mean? And so like, yeah, so that side of things is, that's much more of like documentary, just getting the content. It's like you're watching the documentary side of it versus the actual like, hey, you're a part of a like training coach session. The training coach sessions are the organized events that we'll be sharing versus the like, well, if you want to watch the Twitch stream of us doing workout mode, I mean, sometimes it's just you sit down, you know, it's not like you're out when you go out to do a long training ride outside, like you ain't talking to somebody a whole lot about stuff. You're just out there putting your head down and going. So you get to be a part of that too, if you want to. That's a whole nother thing. All right. But this is a great segue into a definite calm down moment, because when I launched Garrett Gaines, and even like in the past when I've thought so often about sharing my workouts with people, there isn't a good way to get together and do this. Why do we not have club workouts, Anna. Can you answer that question for me? Because that's a major calm down for you and I.
Yeah, so I will preface this by saying I've always said at the beginning of us doing this podcast, it's not going to be like a complain fest about stuff, like, oh, I wish we had this and da 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 da. I want to keep it like mostly fun and positive. But occasionally I do come across something where I'm like, this has frustrated me to no end. And this was when so my club, I'm preparing for the winter ahead, and we're moving one of our real life sessions virtual, which is quite a big deal because it's quite a sort of old school club in some regards. And so one of them is virtual and I'm helping them do that. And so I've set up our club, and I was all excited because I knew that there were workouts in there. I was like, cool. So basically what I'll probably do is alternate. 1 week I'll write a workout and we'll go do that together as a club event. And then the next week we'll do a club ride where we'll be banded together and we'll use the terrain. So I'll be like, okay, we're going to sprint this. Okay, recover. Then we're going to hit this climb for 3 minutes. Recover, but we'll be banded so we can all stay together and do it together. Currently with clubs, I can do neither of those things. And I was like, not even one of them. So I can do a group ride, but with no banding. I mean, in our club, I've got a girl who's going to the Olympics, and I've got a 75-year-old, 80-year-old woman with 2 knee replacements. Like within 5 minutes, not even that, within a minute, gone. We're not a group anymore. We are just separated. So I was like, well, that's stupid because no one will like that. One, the person in the back will feel terrible because they're not part of the group. The Olympic athlete will be like, I kind of feel bad too. And so their workout could be affected because they won't go as hard. And so I was like, well, that's a waste of time. Okay, we'll focus on workouts. Okay, well, they do have some like workouts in there. So, okay, I'll just have to, not write my own workouts and do the workouts that are there. There's like 8 workouts. I'm like, we're doing this for like years. What are we going to just repeat these 8 workouts again? And some of them are 40 minutes long. Our session is like an hour and a half. So yeah, anyway, I was just sitting there being like, what the hell? This is ridiculous. And it's just not meeting I can't imagine any club having anything that would be great about this. So anyway, I went onto some forums and I saw that I'm not the only one who was frustrated, and I messaged Nathan and was like, how are you doing Garrett Gaines? Because this isn't working for me. And I will say I did have an email last night from Leah Thorverson, who is working on the events team, and they have found a solution for me, which is a little bit like labor intent, like a little bit manual. So thank you for doing that.
Do you share the workout with everyone and then load it once you get into the actual meetup or something along those lines?
So you can do that as like a workaround with a meetup. But I think, I will say like Zwift were very quick to come back and be like, yeah, I know this is frustrating. And, here's a workaround solution. So I'm not saying it's like a bad thing on their part. And I'm sure there's a whole lot of work that has to be done in the back end somewhere to make this happen. But man, like I was disappointed.
Yeah, and so I see the comments coming in about like and this calm down is mainly about like the fact that there's a lot of people that I'm trying to introduce very easily with very little friction to Zwift things, and that's been a conversation a lot. Like I know sometimes I harken back to Zwiftcast, and lowering friction has been a conversation for a long time about how to get on Zwift, about how to interact with Zwift, about how to use features on Zwift. And so, yeah, there's a lot of workarounds, everybody, but this calm down is like, there shouldn't be. That's the point. Like, we shouldn't need a second program. We shouldn't need to send 50 emails. We shouldn't need to all this other kind of stuff. It should just be like, you got an invite to the workout. You went into a pens and it started. Like that's like the ideal is if you're going to create a group workout, like so anyways, the way that we're doing it is that I'm coaching because I have a live stream and a Discord. At least everybody's kind of been able to pick that up pretty quickly. So that's the lowest friction solution that I've found is I just lead people through the workout. Like I just we're going to do this now for this amount of time, go. And then because we're all in a group event together, then people kind of at least feel like they're a part of something because they can hear me in their ear. Even if people are going up the road, it doesn't matter all that much because they're still getting the workout in. So I'm seeing Carissa's actually in chat saying, calm down.
Getting told to calm down by the calm down. So yeah, I don't usually like going on rants about stuff, but I think in this case it was like I don't have the luxury kind of like your captive audience is probably quite like Discord and familiar. I mean, this is like
I had to train some people. I had to train quite a few people, so that's difficult in and of itself too. Go ahead, Anna.
Yeah, so this is the thing for Zwift is I'm taking a traditional club where I'm actually onboarding a whole bunch of people onto Zwift. They don't even use Zwift. So it's kind of good for them because they're getting more people coming on. But for me now, it's a little bit of work in the background to make it for them as smooth as possible. Because what I didn't want to happen is we come on the first one and like it didn't work for some reason. And then they're like, well,
forget it.
And then they go, well, why are we doing this? Let's just go back to how we did it before. And I'll lose them straight away. So that's why I got a bit like calm downy with it. Whereas if you've already got a bunch of people who are already on Zwift and there's a bug, they'll be like, oh, okay, well, that happens. But if you've got a first timer, like, it's got to be so smooth.
Yeah, agreed. 100% agreed. That's a really good point, the onboarding process, especially when it comes to group workouts and things like that. Real quickly, I'm going to I know you removed it and we got to go to our guest here. Segment battle points. They just didn't happen. I don't know. We're not going to talk a whole lot about it. It sucks. It just sucks.
Yeah.
Like I really was looking forward to that. I talked about it during the commentary even a couple of times over the ZRL this past week because it was a cool idea. It was a great idea. And at certain points during that Innsbruck ring race, there were groups off the back. I wanted to talk about their race. And I wanted to talk about it in not just they'll pick up some finish line points. I wanted to talk about it in like, they're still racing each other right now. And so what a cool idea. I'm just really sad that it couldn't have been implemented. And it is a marketing lesson. Like, hey, unless you got it ready to go, like for real ready to go, you don't talk. I don't know where that potato,
Yeah,
I don't know where that hot potato lies, but wherever it lies, like it's got to be good to go, right, Anna?
Yeah, I think that was, you've hit the nail on the head there. I think that's a really good lesson because I got really excited. I mean, I'm always excited. So like my level of excitement probably dipped like a 0.001% and then rose up again. So like it didn't like make or break it for me. But I think what would I think work well, and I would personally love it because it's winter for me, is in the off season, maybe just because I think there's a difference between segment battle points and testing. And Martin's probably like, if he listens to this, is probably pulling out his head being like, Anna, what are you talking about? But probably in testing, if you have like 10, 20 people, it'll work smooth. But I mean, WTRL Zwift Racing League now is like this humongous beast with demanding little mouths to feed. And anything could break when you hit that number, right? So maybe just run some test events, like run like a couple of big events over the off season and just test it out. And people won't be angry because they'll know it's a test event and they'll be like, oh, that didn't work. Oh, well, who cares? Like it's no skin off my nose. So maybe that could be a good idea. And then people get familiar with it through those test events too. And it can ease into next season. But I hope
that's a great, and I like it that you're focusing on the solution. Like, hey, here's a way that we could go about it. Because I think you're right. Like having test events that are public, you know what I mean? That are because that changes things. Because then you have to deal with the pushback too when something's public, and you have to deal. There's just more that happens when something actually goes public and it's got a lot of eyes on it. It can get messed with in some sort of way. It's kind of like throwing it into the sandbox to see what happens. All right, we're gonna jump into our guest here. Daniel Jamrozik. The best way to introduce him is to why he's got the name Jammers. Let's go ahead real quickly here. I want to show this scene. 9.5 watts per kilogram suddenly on the front of the Zwift Grand Prix, as you can see here, flying off the front. 10.5 at the start of a squad skirmish race. This is classic Jammers. I absolutely love this move. So iconic. There he is in the left-hand corner from the Zwift Grand Prix. If you didn't catch this move, it was one of the best moves in Zwift racing history. It actually ended up with him grabbing a second place over the top in the squad skirmish race. Absolutely amazing move there coming from him. And this is part of the reason why we've got Daniel Jamrozik on with us, because he is known for being the man who likes to attack off the front. Daniel Jamrozik, also in the Jammers, hey, from Restart Racing. He was racing for Velocio there in the Zwift Grand Prix, though, as a guest rider. Welcome to the program, Daniel. Good to have you.
Honored to be a guest. I was just experiencing some Wi-Fi signal interruptions there, so I had to switch networks, and hopefully everything's working in A-OK right now.
Yeah, you're more than good. You're more than good to go. Super, super good to go. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. So, Anna, you want to, what was your, I mean, obviously because of what we've seen from him and just being a personality in the elite e-racing world for Restart as well as Velocio and the kind of moves that he's made. But I think there's some other things that you picked up about Daniel that is also why you brought him on. But go ahead, Anna.
Yeah, so I mean, the reason I reached out to Daniel is because I saw that move. To be honest, I don't follow men's racing like as much as I follow the women's racing, but I saw that and was like, wow, that guy is like insane. This is awesome. But then actually when you said you could come on the show and I started doing a bit of, Google research on you, I was like, this guy is super interesting as well. So I kind of want to start off by, what's your Zwift origin story? But I know that we talked about it pre-show. Can you pull that in with your actual just scientific origin story too, and how those two sort of mesh together? So maybe a bit of both.
Sure. So I guess I made a crib sheet for this as well to help me out here and just sort through organizationally how I sequenced out my childhood up to where I am today, which is 29 years of age. So
wait, where do you live? Where do you live? Quick, Daniel. Where are you from? Where are you from? I just want to get that from you.
St. Louis, Missouri.
St. Louis, Missouri. Got it. St. Louis, Missouri. And how long have you been Zwifting before? Because just so you guys know, you could get doctorate level papers from my Discord from Daniel Jamrozik on how to train, how to attack in different places, what's going on with doping in sport. I mean, it's definitely so. I'm going to rein you in just a little bit because you're freaking brilliant. So where are you from? When did you start Zwifting? And then go ahead, jump into your story there.
Sure. So St. Louis, Missouri. After I finished up with college, came back here for family reasons. With my background being in Polish heritage, basically everybody has been born in Poland except for me. And we kind of have our own custom, or I guess my parents obey the tradition of family comes first, and then other things in life, such as work or I don't know, some other unnecessary or that's not the word, but other aspects in life. My parents don't really stress too much about. So things like social gatherings and just being together, that's really what we value a lot. So I came back to St. Louis and partly just watch over my parents, but at the same time take care of myself and try to live a good life for that matter. When it came to Zwift, I started in 2018. I had to look this up on Strava actually because my origin story on Zwift is it's dated back quite a bit. I have a lot of time that I've amassed on Zwift, so
level 60.
Pointing the exact
level
day.
60, Daniel. That's all right. You don't need an exact day, but level 60,
I
and you started in 2018, and you've been Zwifting all the way through from there forward.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. And every day, or do you race outside, ride outside much, or is it you're a pure Zwifter through and through?
So the thing is, in 2016, I started training consistently. Before that, it was pretty much inconsistent on the bike. But ever since 2016, I started training consistently. And my primary focus at the time was to just train outside only. Indoors, no, I never thought about that. Until I think winter 2016, winter 2017. I purchased a turbo trainer, and it was a wheel-on fluid trainer. Now, at in December 2017, I also had a power meter that I invested in. So I could have used that bike, the one with the power meter, to train on the fluid trainer, but part of me just didn't want to use that bike, the one with the power meter, because I was fearful of corrosion and perhaps maybe fatiguing the material. It's an aluminum bike, so installing it onto a fluid trainer, a fixed fluid trainer. I think at the time, was it Canyon Bikes maybe that did some kind of study about how carbon bikes, it wasn't aluminum bikes, but still, they said that carbon bikes had a propensity to break or get some damage if they were installed on a turbo trainer for an extended period of time. So I guess that sort of fear for at least a year, maybe longer. I never used my power meter and just resorted to the dumb trainers, so to speak. But I still had other metrics like heart rate, which I could use for training. So I coupled, my physiological metric of heart rate to various workouts that I've seen online. I could just simply Google
So
search.
I'm going to jump in here real quick, Daniel. What was your motivation? Like, why were you on an indoor trainer in the middle of winter, putting all of this thought and effort at 2016, 2017, before even being on Zwift to train? Like, were you looking to race? Were you just looking to get in shape? Like, what was the deal there?
Yeah, so in 2016, my motive was to just ride the bike and just try to be as quick as possible. So average speed was the metric that I had wanted to look after. But I noticed pretty quickly that I was relatively strong, so to speak. And I started with Strava in 2017. So with my engineering background, I was very number oriented, data focused, and was just chasing after the numbers. So Strava was a good place to compare myself against other people. And
Were you going
I
after
think,
KOMs?
yeah, I was. But I think it took several months before I finally decided to make an account in Strava in 2017. But once I did, then it was like a never-ending sort of uh, love, I guess, of just chasing, KOMs, chasing PRs for myself, for that matter. So since that,
Daniel,
uh,
can I you kind of glossed over it because you said with your engineering background, you
yeah,
liked the data. I mean, that's a bit of a gloss over. So, when I was looking into you and your background, I mean, it went way back to like high school science project awards. There was more on your engineering background that I could find than on cycling and Zwift, which kind of
yeah.
piqued my interest. So can you expand a little bit more on an engineering background? What is the background? And I've seen you've worked for companies like Rolls-Royce, and I mean, there's a lot there. We're kind of talking to quite a top echelon of scientists here. So give us a bit of history of that as well.
Yeah, so when it came to engineering, I guess the best way to explain this is how it all started, how my inspiration for um, going in or majoring in engineering, aerospace engineering in particular, started for me. Um, so here in the United States, I don't know if the viewers may or may not understand our grade system. We have preschool, we have kindergarten, and then we have grades 1 through 12. Uh, 1 through 8, at least where I live, or excuse me, 1 through 6, where I live, is called elementary school. Then 7, 8, it's junior high or middle school. And then 9 through 12 is high school. For me, it was maybe grade 4 through 6 in elementary school where I realized math and science were, my talents. They were definitely my standouts. Um, and ever since that point, I made it a priority to focus in on math and science sort of subjects, particularly math, because, like I say, I'm number oriented and I'm very focused about, computing things for that matter. So formulas, things like that, it just made sense to me. Whereas to someone else, maybe linguistics, reading books, or maybe looking back at history, that sort of stuff makes sense to them. So um, by high school, uh, I got into honors classes as well as college credit courses, like they're called AP. I don't know what that.
Advanced placement. Advanced placement here in the
Yeah,
USA.
that's
We call
it.
them advanced placement, and then they get you college credit while you're in high school. And you actually were you high school valedictorian as well?
I was, yeah, and I got a reward, or I got say that work ethic and just putting in the effort really made that come to reality for me. Um,
And
you
then you
know,
went
I
into aerospace engineering. I'm gonna jump us forward just a tad here, and then
Yeah,
got a degree in aerospace engineering. Is that right? Or is there a
yeah,
lot?
yeah, yeah,
Am I
yeah.
skipping over like anything super major that you want to really highlight though in within your college, in post high school, graduate career career there, or is that like is there something more in there is what I'm wondering because it sounds like there's a lot when it comes to your
Yeah.
education and then what you went
Oh,
into with
yeah.
work as well. But we just want to make sure we highlight those quickly and then get into also esports too.
Sure, sure. So just really quick then, I also had 2 internships along the way. Um, one through Naval Research Enterprise intern program. And I worked out in Ridgecrest or China Lake, California, with NAVAIR, a government entity, at the Naval Warfare, uh, or NOC-WD, Naval Air Warfare Center Weapons Division. And it was like a test engineering hub. So in the desert, and just blowing things up, or working on instrumentation, trying to study maybe testing an airplane engine, and yeah, fun
I have a
stuff right
question.
there.
Okay,
And
wait.
then the
Okay, so
other,
like, I have a question here. Like, was there any like athletic like endeavor at that point? I'm seeing a little bit about ice hockey in here. Maybe
Ice
like,
hockey?
yeah,
Yeah.
or like was endurance sports not a part of your world until 2016, 2017? It was some other things, or how's that work, Daniel?
so grade 6 maybe, uh, through grade 12, I partook in roller hockey. Actually, it wasn't ice hockey, but I was a bad skater, so I had to use my feet and just run around. But fortunately, on the weekends and maybe even some weekdays, there were gatherings with other people, just using rollerblades and just playing street hockey for that matter, with an actual rubber puck. So some people wore shin guards, other people like myself didn't wear any protection whatsoever, really. So yeah, that was quite a fun time and an experience right there. But as far as how that can impact your fitness, well, I mean, you're doing like on off sort of work in hockey, so it's like shift work, so to speak. where you're really explosive for maybe 15, 30 seconds, maybe 60 seconds even. Really trying to chase down the puck, whoever has the puck, or maybe you have that puck and you're trying to score on the opposing goalie. Or it could just be pretty relaxed and chill, and you're just mingling about, like maybe in soccer where there's players walking or lightly jogging about the field.
I love it. I agree. I agree. Maybe in soccer where people are just kind of mingling around and not doing a whole lot. 100% with you there.
Daniel, I kind of I do want to segue. I had a burning question before the show for you, and it's kind of become more burning as you've kept talking, is that you obviously have a very analytical mind. But then I see a move like you do in squad skirmish, which just looks flamboyant, and like it didn't look like there was a whole lot of like thought. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, it was exciting and you just went for it. I can't piece together these two sides, because was that move, if you want to talk about it specifically, just an off the cuff, or did you put a huge amount of analysis into it and you knew it would work?
Well, I can't just credit myself for that. I could say that experience comes into play for that, just instilling more confidence and trying to pull a move off like that. But it was also Velocio's discussion leading up to that really set that off. I told them that for that sort of race course where it was 3 kilometers and kilometer maybe into it, it was flat or relatively flat, so to speak, and then followed that with a kilometer-ish hill climb. So I just did a calculation of maybe like a 3-minute effort altogether from start to finish, with the hill climb itself being like a minute to minute 30 effort. So right then and there, Velocio gave me some ideas as to what I'm strong with my power, and I know that like I'm not a minute specialist kind of guy. Even a minute 30, that's kind of tough. It's around 2 minutes when I start to contest against the very best guys. But I had to think about 3 minutes right there, and going from start to finish of the race. Fortunately for that sort of format, there were 2 races back to back, with a break in between. So Velocio thought about me attacking the second race, where the idea was that people who set off on that first race were flogging themselves to get the top 12 in points. The smart approach with this was that if I were to just go all in on the second race, there's a decent chance, a better chance for that matter, than going for 2 races back to back, that I could score more points. It was points scattered from 1st through 12th. And, instead of settling for, say, 10th or worse position, which is 2 points or less for the first race, if I were to commit to that, and then do the second race where, I'm going to be using tired legs for that matter, I may or may not contest for the top 12 on that second race. And, in the end, if you compare points for the 2 scenarios, one where you go for, or you commit to both races, the other scenario where you just go all in on one race, that second scenario is definitely the high risk situation, but at the same time, it's high reward. Fortunately for me and how everything played out, our predictions with Velocio were correct, in that people would really commit to that first race, and then that second race, the things, all the factors just played out as we predicted, and I managed to gap the peloton right away. Only Michael Plantero, he launched or tried to bridge to me, but he was a bit delayed. So fortunately, I just maintained a gap to him until the second rise of the Watopia Hilly Forward KOM. And
Yeah, and I noticed.
with my power just being steady, I just sent it as hard as I could for those 3 minutes, and fortunately maintained, I think, a 2-second gap to the chasing peloton behind.
Yeah, I noticed in the first race I was confused. I was like, where the heck was Jammers in the first race? But it sounds like you just let that race go completely. That was very calculated then, like extremely calculated, that no effort whatsoever in the first race, and then go ahead and jump in on that second one and give everything all out from where your power profile is the best. Like you were like, well, this is where I have the best power. If I can get away, let's go ahead and make it happen and see how it plays out. It ended up second overall over the top there. So that was really well played out.
I think as well, Daniel, and I'm kind of like, do I even talk about this with an aerospace engineer? Because I'm probably going to get really showcased here with my brain versus yours. But when you were talking there, what I loved, and what we talked about it a little bit in the start of the show when I was talking about like controllable factors and game theory in cycling, which is probably what I find the most exciting thing in cycling, is trying to figure out when to do these things based on what you think other people are going to be doing. So like you said there, like race 2, we think they're not going to be going as hard. So the risk is that they will go harder. We don't know. But actually, you're making predictions about what other people are doing. I mean, I don't know if you watch much, in real life cycling, but that is the thing that I love the most, is trying to make all those kind of chess pieces and things work together and make predictions for you to do the best that you can. I mean, is that part of it too, that you just love the kind of the science behind the racing?
Yeah. And I'd say, since we never talked about this, but 2018, 2019, and 2021, I did do outdoor racing. In my area, it's crit racing for that matter. So in there, one of the skills that you learn is just to read other racers and try to, I guess, predict, at least for me, was try to predict the race outcome. You tend to understand the tendencies of your competition, and from there, you try to make a race out of it, against other people. You finesse them by using your strengths and try to expose their weaknesses. So, when it comes to Zwift racing, I just apply that same sort of craft. And I'd say that just doing the racing over and over and over again, you start to formulate patterns and can understand people's habits, their tendencies, as well as try to work out your own racecraft, what works, what doesn't work. Sometimes attacks, like this past week, ZRL Tuesday, I knew coming in that if I were to do redundant attacks over and over and over again, that's not going to be really effective. At least if I were to just ignore the remaining peloton and just try to go on my own solo for 4 laps. That's ridiculous. I cannot do that with the speed of the peloton. However, my thinking was, what if I try to cause some splits and get some separation where there's like 5-10 riders with me? Then we have a feasible chance to make something happen, and at least in an attritional sort of race, I have a better advantage to place top 10, top 5, whatever.
Yeah, and I saw in lap number 3, you waited, it looked like, until about lap 2. I think there was a little bit of a go, and you're like, this isn't, they're not quite softened up enough. And then lap 3, you almost made that happen on your own. Like, you attacked over and over again consistently in the lull moments on the back end of, on the front end of the Innsbruck Ring course, and did an amazing job of almost completely splitting that pack. And I'm not saying it was just only you that was, a part of that effort, but it was your instigation every time at the front during that time actually to make that happen. And looking back on that, I can see now a lot of times when I watch Daniel, your racing, I guess I don't realize how calculated it actually is. It does to a lot of the viewers. I think it feels like you're just throwing caution to the wind because it isn't something that people would necessarily do that often. It seems really risky, and people always, well, not always, but often, associate that kind of risk with a lack of planning. Where it sounds like that's the complete opposite. You were just like, no, this is my best chance, and I'm going to roll the dice on the best chance I possibly have to be an impact on this race. And you completely impacted the race. I think there was a lot of people who burned a ton of matches actually in that race this past Tuesday because of the efforts that you threw down, where you caught them off guard in a way that they wouldn't have been caught off guard otherwise.
Yeah, I definitely agree right there. I'd say I'd also credit my not only my race tactics,
do your dance moves come in? That is coming into the chat a little bit. We want to know. We want to know a little bit about the dance moves, though. Sorry for interrupting you, but that has been a comment that like your style on the bike, is definitely well known as well.
Yeah. So I think we have some videos about that as well that we can talk through. But my bike is stationary, right? And there is no sort of forward, backward, side to side sort of tilting. At least not with the Wahoo Kicker V5 compared to riding outside, for that matter. So my bike setup, the cockpit area in particular, the handlebar, the brake hood shifters, they're angled inward. I have just a conventional drop bar, but the drop bar itself is wide, 38 centimeters, and the stem length that's 130 millimeters.
So wait, you have like a super long stem, but like really thin drop bars, and then like angled in too. So it sounds like it's just like this really narrow setup. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, like Dan Bigham or Victor Campenarts, Remco Evenepoel, all those guys.
Yeah.
That's so the reason why it's like that is because I ever since when I first started Zwift in 2018, I've always had that mentality to just remain outside. And it was 2021 after 5-6 crashes where I had suffered broken bones. Yeah, I finally said, let's take a break from riding outside for a bit because it's risky for me, and I've also had an incident where I had to be airlifted in one of those crashes. So I'm well aware of the healthcare system here in the USA and the insurance stuff that goes behind that. But Zwift to me is just a place where I can trust that I'm going to be relatively healthy. I just overcame a COVID illness. So besides being sick, you're guaranteed to not have any broken bones, unless maybe you were to have your quick release unlatched.
The one way that you could maybe have some sort of a well, you got to be careful with the dance moves. Then I mean, jammers, you got to maybe rein them in just a tad in order to no broken bones on the indoor trainer. Anna's got to. We do got to cut it just a little bit short. I mean, it sounds like we could dive deep into more when it comes to Jamrozik and Dammers here. But if you want, our Discord, you're hanging out in the Nathan Guerra Discord quite a lot. Maybe we can find a link to that. And I mean, I think there's an entire books written here, I think, on training information, training tips, and nutrition. I think that Jammers loves to have a conversation about. But what's next here?
And I want to
go ahead, Anna.
I did want to say, one, I want to know if you're live streaming your stuff, Daniel, because I think if anyone, and I can see Aaron Bleakley has come in the chat and said that, he's raced with you and he knows it's just 100% calculated. So if you want to see exciting racing, but also from someone who is extremely calculated and smart in their cycling decision-making, go and watch Daniel. So yeah, share a bit of where people can watch you as well, because I know I found it very informative.
So I have to confess, I'm using Apple TV at the moment. However, behind the scenes,
look on Anna's face. Oh my gosh, I love it.
I know. I'm sorry about that.
With your background, I'm like, wait, PC Master Race. What's going on here?
To be honest, in college, I never really considered majoring in something like computer engineering or comp sci or electrical engineering. None of that stuff. No. So
all the real life stuff, all the things that actually move in real life, it sounds like, is what you're actually interested in.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Right.
So,
okay, we do got to get moving here, Danny. But what's up next? What's next? Like, you're racing for Velocio, guest riding, restart racing. Real quick, you qualified for Worlds, didn't you?
I did. Yeah.
So that must be what's really on your radar right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So training and recency has been focused hour to hour 0.5 back-to-back sort of intensity sessions. I like to do, ever since I've recovered from COVID, several Zwift races just to rack up the intensity in that sort of time frame. However, I've also considered maybe including things like sprints or microburst intervals, like 30-30s, classic 40-20s, that sort of thing, to really stress my body in such a short time period right there, and try to emulate the world's racing format as much or as closely as possible.
I'd be really interested to see if the kind of personality that you are now swapping with that kind of focus into a much sharper, pointy end of racing. How do I, that, like you were saying, that 40-20, that more neuromuscular, getting more into VO2, getting more into lactate tolerance efforts over and over and over again. It'll be interesting to me to see, as you swap that over, and whether or not, like, how quickly you can adapt to that and how things go, because the world's course definitely would be, you're going to need to break away if it's the old jammers, or if some of this training is going to change things up, and perhaps the kind of determination I can see just in the way that you talk about some of these things will change things up for you to be able to really have an amazing result. We got to move on in the show. Jammers, it's Daniel. It's been really, really great to have you on, and man, we'll maybe have to have you back sometime to get more of like each section of the story here for sure, because it's been a lot of fun to have you on here.
So, yeah, I appreciate it. Always welcome to come back on and just talk things. Like I mentioned early on, I had a crib sheet as well set up for explaining more about my education and such. So perhaps another time.
Yeah, maybe we'll find that. Just go check out Daniel Jamrozik over on Instagram as well. He's got a lot of stories over there. Daniel.Jamrozik over on Instagram. Go check that out. It's all Zwift racing stuff. So appreciate you having on there, and we'll see you out off the front of a bike race soon. So, all right. Well, Daniel Jamrozik.
Thank you so much, guys.
Of course. Great having you on. All right. Well, that was.
Oh my gosh.
Go ahead, Anna.
So I had an inkling because Chris from Zamuna K sent me a message overnight that was like, oh, I've got all these articles that we did and interviews if you want some background. And there were a lot of them. I was like, oh, whoa, this is going to be big. I don't know if you watched The White Lotus, but there's a scene in there and it just kept replaying in my head where they ask Jennifer Coolidge's character, like, tell me a bit about yourself. It's just like, well, I was born in, and they're like, oh, okay, we're going all the way back there. I was like, yes, it's just like that. It's so good. There's like so much more I want to hear from Gemma. So I would like to probably after Worlds have him on to give his perspective of racing, because what I love about it is, so if we look at like a difference in response here, and there's no, plus or minus, but we talked, it's just because we've had the ZRL race over the week, and it was a different approach from, say, Jammers and Kristen Kulczynski. So you have Kristen Kulczynski who, was kind of like, oh, I got bored of the sprinting, so I just went. And she knows she's got the power numbers to do that. Whereas you have Jammers who's like, I know that this is like my absolute strength, and this is where I would need to do this with other people to do this, and this would happen, and blood. Like it's that kind of like, and that's why I was so interested in his response to, and I kind of figured it would be a more analytical thing. It's where he races in a, like, I would say Kristen Kulczynski races in like a flamboyant way. Like, it's great. It's her and, Lindsay Cassie, they go make stuff happen, and it's really like exciting for racing. Jammers does the same thing, and it looks really flamboyant, but it is actually like overcalculated in the background to know if that will work. Do you kind of get what I'm saying there? Like, that's why I found him so interesting.
100%. And that's because he pushes the pressure points off of a calculated way, it looks like it might be chaos, but he's got chaos under control, is what it looks like to me. Yeah. He's got the chaos under control. And I mean, aerospace engineering, I mean, that's like you're engineering things flying out into outer space. So that's literally chaos controlled. Like, that's about as close as it possibly gets, probably, when it comes to human interaction with the things we can manipulate. But all right, quickly into the jersey picks, because I know you got to go, Anna. And Black Sheep, now you actually put an Instagram post out that said, how do you rate this? How did that go? Because I gave this a 6.5. I wanted to go higher, but something about the color scheme made me keep it back a little bit.
So I'm going to do this each week, where I'm going to post up the jersey picks before the show to get a feel from the community about the rating out of 10, so that I can kind of come with a more educated response, other than just myself kind of throwing something out there. So I actually got sent this from one of the community members. And so the responses, the first one that came in was a 1, but then the second one that came in was a 10. So I was like, wow, I guess with fashion, it's going to be all over the show.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, but I would say the majority, and thanks to everyone who sent responses, there was quite a few. So the majority kind of settled around that 6 to 7 out of 10. So there were obviously the outliers, but yeah, I would say I'd give it the same. I'd give it like the reason I wouldn't give it a 7, so I'm really going to stick with a 6, is I don't really love the shorts being the same design as the jersey. Like, I think
it goes
would
too
be
much.
The shorts.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying.
So if the shorts
maybe if they
were
put a little like interruption in the shorts, like it could have some of that color still, but just a little interruption. Is that what you're going for?
Yeah, so maybe like the cuffs of the short, or even like the logo there for Black Sheep Clothing was done in that kind of crazy purple mashup they've got there. But I think it's just too much of one color going through everything. But I do really like it. It does stand out. It's a thanks to Ryan Goldenberg, actually, for sending this through. And I do want to say that it is the Man Ride Black Sheep jersey. I thought it was quite funny. It's called a Man Ride.
That's a good call out, because Black Sheep has done a lot of different kits with Zwift, and so we got to call out specifically which one. Go ahead, Anna.
Yeah, so it's the Man Ride, which was done a few years back. It was an active call for conversation about mental health. And so, it was rides they did to sort of call attention to that. So that's really cool. Good cause as well. But 6 out of 10 there for that jersey.
6 out of 10 on the Black Sheep. And then our garage pick for the week. This is when you hit level 59, you get this backwards cap, I think this is. And I just got this, actually started wearing it. What are you thinking about? This look on your face just now. Oh my gosh. You kind of rolled your eyes almost. Go ahead. I mean, does this have to do with why you were like, I said, oh, new levels and new gear. And you're like, yeah, so what? I remember you going like, is this one of your pieces that you're like, oh, really?
Well, okay, I'm actually rolling my eyes because the image here is of Christina Grossman, who's on my team. And I saw she was rocking the hat last week. I was like, what hat is that? I think it actually pairs really nice with this Fleur kit. I'm rolling my eyes at the glasses when you pulled it up.
With the Riot kit.
Yeah.
It goes well with the Riot. Well, okay. This was Kristen and Jackie Gobby rolled this, I think, this past week.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So
What's that yell about? Oh my God.
I just I mean, it stands out. I don't love those glasses, and I'm just like rolling my eyes, like, oh god, she loves them. And I mean, it does. The kit looks cool. I actually don't mind this backwards cap. So I didn't really like the off the map one. I just didn't really like the colors of that backwards cap. This one looks okay. Like it's kind of like got bright colors. It's nice. It's probably out of all the backwards caps, the one I like the most. So it's good. I'm also kind of like, man, level 59, these guys are advancing quickly. I think I've just rolled into like 53. So I'm a little bit jealous as well that I don't have this. But yeah, it's the backwards cap, level 59 unlock. Go get it. It does look good with that fluoro kit.
It does. It definitely does. All right. Well, that is going to be it for us. What are you up to for the next week real quickly, Anna?
I'm looking out the window and it's pouring with rain, so I'm not sure what's going to happen to my session tomorrow, which I was going to do like a 2-hour run. I can still run in the rain, so I might go do that. Probably get on Zwift. I might see if I can roll it past the husband and maybe do the tiny races on Sunday if it's going to be raining. Do that, get prepped, do an interval session on Neon Flats, all ready for next week's ZRL, because if we really need to win that one to level up the playing field and make this a big finals battle with 2024. But that's about it. What about you, Nathan?
Base. So it's force work, it's weightlifting, it's speed work, and lots of hours. So that is what we are up to here in the Guerra household. We'll be live streaming those things as well. So be on the watch out for that. And getting ready for ZRL. We're doing promos about the ZRL race for next week and watching out for what's up with Scotland. That's really what's happening with me for the Worlds of Zwift. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in for this episode of The Wrap. This is episode number 28. You can go back and listen to all or watch the episodes on our YouTube. We've been live on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and Facebook. Go ahead and download the podcast to take it with you on audio anywhere that you can find a podcast, searching The Wrap, as well as Zwift. It should come up real quickly. We'll be back at you here on Zwift Community Live real quickly for the Zwift Racing League next week, Tuesday. And, of course, we'll be back with episode number 29 next week. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Make sure to hit those likes, subscribe, comment, do all that cool stuff. It helps us a ton. Share it with your friends if you like the content, and we'll see you next week for episode 29. From Anna and I, we'll see you on Zwift real soon. As always, right on.